Okay, I'll call this regular council meeting of 2014-04-22 to order, and a motion for, and that's at 1903. Approval of the agenda. Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Lennon. All in favor? Motion passes. Adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of 2014-04-08. Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Lennon. All in favor? Motion passes. No delegations. Business arising from the minutes. Report of the administrator.
Okay. We have a few items for you in this report this week. First of all, just to report back, Public Works have been fairly busy ramping up for the season. They've even fitted in a little time to do one of the LED lighting projects in the Public Works building. On the recycling front, the timelines for receiving complete information from MMBC to enable proper subcontractual tendering or RFPs to be done this year has been extremely challenging. I'm strongly recommending the following course of action. Firstly, that we rescind the resolution on the request for expressions of interest. Secondly, that starting May 22nd until the end of this calendar year, the village enters an arrangement with Kootenai Waste Services on a fee-for-service basis of $450 per run, including taxes, to provide curbside recycling services for residents. And thirdly, that a tender request or request for proposals for both garbage and recycling contractor services for 2015 and 2016 be issued in November.
I'll move the first resolution to rescind Resolution 8214.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Leafwood. Discussion. Call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move the second one. You want it read out? That starting May 22nd, 2014 until the end of the calendar year, Kootenai Waste Services is going to be paid on a fee-for-service basis of $450, including taxes, per run, 16 runs to provide curbside recycling services to residents.
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion. Councilor Hewitt.
I just wondered if that amount is covered under the amount we get from MMBC.
It should be with some to spare. That's the hope. Of course, this year is going to be a little bit of a nervous wait to see what happens, but in theory it should work.
Next one. What's that? Call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
And I'll move the last resolution that a tender or request for proposals for both garbage and recycling contractor services for 2015 and 2016 be issued in November of 2014.
Second by Councilor Leafwood. Discussion. Call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
Okay, next one up is the completion of the wildfire fuel interface treatment. UBCM staff on the 17th provided us with a green light for an amended fuel treatment plan for the Washington unit, allowing it to be completed by April 30th. Again, we have some fairly severe time constraints and changes with respect to contractor availability. So the following direct award is recommended to complete the project. That Loki Tree Services be awarded $70,610 to complete the amended Washington unit with kaslo wildfire fuel interface project, completion coming no later than April 30th, 2014.
Mover? Moved by Councilor Lang.
Second
by Councilor Leafwood for discussion. Or Councilor Hewitt for discussion.
Just wondering, so the other units are still being completed by
Yes, they're completing all the rest, and they've done an excellent job. My understanding from the the project managers that they're not actually available for that final unit. Probably to do some work in the Grand Forks area. So we have very little time, and Loki Tree Services is available.
And they have a chipper.
Yeah.
Okay. And, sorry? Call a question?
Yeah.
All in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move the last resolution.
The staff post for a casual
Casualty position for the village hall.
moved by Councillor Eastwood, seconded by Councillor Lang. Discussion, call a question, all in favor? Motion passes.
I'd like to back up a bit.
Okay.
And that council sends a letter of thanks to True Blue for the excellent work in completing the other units.
I'll second that.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, seconded by Councillor Eastwood. Discussion, call a question, all in favor? Motion passes.
Just some important dates there for council. May 6th, both at 6 p.m. and at 7. Special meeting followed by a committee of the whole, and a regular meeting again on the 13th.
Okay. So, 4B, consolidated financial statements.
Okay, the 2013 consolidated financial statements are on your computers for your review. There is an amendment has been made to reflect the payment in lieu of taxes issue, so that that is in the open and being dealt with in the report. There's also a notation with respect to the specified sewer that goes back to a letter from last summer. Do council have any questions for me with respect to the?
That's on page 11. Is that why?
Page 11 was an additional. I think the accountant forgot to put that in the package, and basically made that a separate one. Should have merged it together for me. Our auditor should be available to come and discuss the audited financial statements in the next few weeks.
So where was that notation about? Would be under the notes, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's one
Or
of the
significant accounting policies or notes?
Yes. I only got an email today that has been added, so I don't know if you've got it now. Basically, there's a line in it on page 11 of mine, my draft. Basically, accounts payable and accruals includes $39,923 in 2012, $25,849 for grants and payments in lieu of taxes for 5 years. It'll appear, if it's not in your version, under Municipal Finance Authority deposit on this page.
That's why page 11 was there. I thought it was just to say that it was on page 11, but it didn't say that. All right. So I'll move. Reading that the 2013 draft consolidated financial statements be approved with the addition of a small statement or notation with respect to the Pilts remittance issue.
Seconder, second by Councillor Eastwood. Discussion, call a question, all in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move the second resolution, the C resolution. That the proposed response be approved to Minister Lakelift Chair Shadrach, consulted on any recent updates you might consider useful to mention.
Seconder, second by Councillor Lang. Discussion, call a question, all in favor? Motion passes. On to correspondence.
Your first letter there is a letter dated 16th of April from North Kootenay Lake Community Services Society with respect to provincial early years centre test sites. They're looking for a letter of support in becoming a test site.
I'll move that letter of support be sent to NKLCSS with respect to it becoming a provincial early years centre test site.
Moved by Councillor Leafwood, second by Councillor Hewitt. Discussion, call the question. All in favor? Motion passes.
Two letters on the subject of Jazz Fest. First of all, you have
I should probably absent myself for a perceived conflict of interest since I'm on the Jazz Festival board.
the first letter is a letter from Castle Marine Club with respect to parking during the Jazz Festival. I have had some offline discussions on the topic, and all that I could suggest to council is that the two boards be encouraged to get together and find a solution on the topic.
Okay, I'll move for receipt.
Second?
Second for discussion. I don't know, I just feel that the situation around the Boat Club maybe isn't quite as bad as what they're making it out to be in this letter. I've noticed over the years that they do seem to keep some parking spots available for the voters during the Jazz Fest. I mean, it's not like it's that area where they traditionally park is typically not occupied by festival goers. But I don't object to the recommendation of C.O. Smith and suggesting that the two boards get together and try to hash things out. It's just,
And report back to council?
yeah.
Sure. You want to amend that, Molly?
Sure.
And I think it gets down to signage or something.
Right.
Ribbon it off or something. I think,
Right,
I don't know what's, I'm trying to think when I was driving down there. You know, it's just real simple. They've got 10 spots, right? And I think there's signs at each end of those 10 spots, Robert. So I mean, that's just a matter of putting some ribbon up on a tripod or something. Okay? Further? Councilor Leafwood?
No, sorry.
Further discussion? Call a question? All in favor? Motion passes. Do you want to let Susan in there? Rob?
Well, the next letter is about the judge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
You can't come back yet.
No.
The other letter is, and I've also had to ask some questions about this. Is my first year with these letters. The letter dated 17th April from Kaslo Jazz Fest Society with respect to use of Castle Park. It's being referred to Public Works for the necessary input, but most items referenced have been authorised in previous years.
Councilor Leafwood?
So, Public Works are they going to be giving us a report at the committee of the whole? I'm just wondering if Jazz Fest needs to move forward on some of these items.
My understanding is that yes, there's a form letter that we usually send back every year that we have in the file. There are a couple of things that need Glenn's input on. Sand being one.
Yeah.
My understanding of it is that it's not this isn't an unusual letter. This is the usual thing you get every year.
So then the procedure would be that this will get discussed at a committee of the whole.
Well, usually council in the past has authorised the requests and just with some reference to Public Works being consulted on some of the items.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just, don't know what Glenn's schedule is looking like here in terms of paving and all those other kinds of things. So I guess it's on an as needed basis.
We don't have a timetable for that yet.
Yeah, no, I realize that, that's what scares me. So, Councillor Lang.
Yeah, I'm looking over this list, and the only thing I'm seeing here is the sand for the beach. Is something the public works crew would definitely have to be involved in. The rest of it seems pretty much falls on the shoulders of the Jazz Society. I don't have any problem moving this along if it's if the sand thing is on a as time permits basis. Is there any other contentious issues that you've been able to identify?
You want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that there's not one written here, is it? Just that the council grant authority of the Jazz Fest to proceed based on correspondence received.
And consultation concerning,
With consultation with Public Works crew, yeah, concerning the sand for the beach.
Councillor Leaford,
I'll second for discussion.
second for discussion.
I was just looking to see if there was anything in there about the parking. For the boat, like the boat stuff, because they're asking for a meeting with them. But I don't think it's in there, is it? Not specifically, so, yeah. Good.
So, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Call the question, all in favor? Motion passes. Councillor Hewitt at this point. Staff reports, 7A, business license report from the deputy clerk. Oh, sorry. Oh, communication for information, sorry.
I'll move to receive.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, seconded by Councillor Leafwood. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes. Let me see what I have here. Okay, and the committee and staff reports. Business license report from the deputy clerk.
Can I just ask this a little question? The recommendation is just to receive, but is she not requesting that some amounts be written off? Is that? That's what it says at the bottom, total requested to write off.
Yeah, she has actually requested one, yeah.
I'll move that the business license fees be written off as outlined in the report from the deputy clerk.
Seconder, second by Councillor Lang. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. I wonder, how good are we at tracking these things? Go ahead.
Well, in answer to your first question, I believe that tracking is, it happens on an annual basis if there are delinquent situations. They are brought to your attention. Enforcement's a different matter. That's a little more challenging. Although ticketing is kind of in effect for the business license bylaw.
Oh, okay.
The other matter I want to bring to council's attention is that the research phase of the regional mobile business licensing piece is kicking off shortly. We're a participant in that, along with Nelson and Regualar and Preston, I believe. That's not going to cost us anything, but I'm waiting to see what the outcome of that is before I do anything or suggest anything new with the business license bylaw.
Further discussion? All questions? All in favor? Motion passes. And aerodrome survey.
I'll move to receive the aerodrome survey results.
Second by Councillor Lang. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes. Food forum report.
I'll move to receive the food forum report.
Second by Councillor Hewitt. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes. Just that was a very interesting session. I think it was very well run. I think that there's probably some work to do in terms of the integrated community sustainability plan. I know we left things because I went through the charter again, and there's quite especially with this ALR thing coming along. You know, so until that gets resolved, we really can't do much. But I think there's some work to be done there. What interested me was the amount of cooperation that's occurring between local merchants and local growers. You know, I mean, people are trying to make it happen. Okay, RDCK Director's Report. I'm not sure what that is. And then verbal reports. Have you got anything, Molly?
Just that the arena AGM is next Monday, and we are looking for more board members.
And hockey players.
Yeah, right.
Councillor Lang?
Just a mention of the AKBLG. I didn't see fit to duplicate Councillor Holmes' efforts in that he did a fairly good job of recounting what the motions that we dealt with. I was there, I guess I was the only one there on the Wednesday, and got to hear Stockwell Day's address. And that was very interesting. He did a pretty good job of entertaining the crowd. I think overall it was worthwhile. It was well run, well attended. The Creston Rec Center is a fabulous facility and works very well in that for a conference of that size. And I think the organizers deserve a lot of credit for doing a good job. And I guess the main thing that I took away from it was that they really want to now restrict the number of resolutions coming forward, because when you submit 268, I think it was, resolutions to the provincial government coming out of UBCM, which is the total amount from all the different districts, right? It has virtually no impact, right, because it's just a scattergun approach, and they just tend to. But if you picked your top 20 priorities and said these are the issues that are really important to us as municipalities and regional districts, and honed right in on them and made the provincial government accountable, I think you get a lot more bang for your buck. And that's basically the message coming from the AKBLG executive. So hopefully when we go to UBCM in September, we'll see that kind of approach adopted, so we can be more impactful. Because when you think about it, this is my third year now, and go year to year to year, what happens to all those resolutions?
Yeah.
How many of them ever get acted on, or how many of them, it's just, it almost seems fruitless in some regards, but maybe if we just focus more on some key issues, we get better results. Anyway, that's it.
Councillor Hewitt?
I was just reporting that I was at the food forum as well in the morning, anyhow, which it was very good. Amy's presentation was really good, and then I enjoyed his name is from Nelson.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
very good. The food was excellent. It was nice to have it there, and we knew exactly where all the food came from, and it was all locally sourced, whatever it could be, so it was really good. And then attended I guess the priority setting sessions for the chamber on Sunday. And that was also quite good. It was, we just sort of did it in-house rather than spending a lot of money on a facilitator, and it seemed to go quite well. I think we ended up with some good results, and we had a friend of Louise DePapes, who does that kind of work, and she assisted us half the day, so it was good. She was able to give a wrap up because we were too wrapped up in everything that we were doing to take the notes like she did. So it was quite good.
Okay, well, let me start with the Meadow Creek Cedar situation. An offer has been made. There are negotiations to occur. If those negotiations are successful, the party involved will, my understanding is, want to meet with council and discuss their plans. I phoned the district manager this morning. He was kind enough to respond to me as well, but they're under confidentiality issues, so they really can't say anything. So I would say by the end of the month we should have some clarity on what will occur there. But now, and as Garth Wiggle said to me, the district manager, this is the offer. It's like buying a house. So, there may be some details there to yet be worked out between the parties, but my sense from Garth Wiggle is that he's satisfied that the proponent will meet the necessary requirements that they have. So we'll have to leave it at that. Then at AKBLG, one of the interesting things was the Columbia River negotiations. I think Jim dealt with that a little bit. So things are on a little bit of a hold there until, but the position of British Columbia appears to be much stronger than the last time we negotiated that. It's a federal arrangement, so the province does have something to say, but ultimately the federal government has to agree with whatever is going to happen there. And there is some possibilities, like in the downstream benefits. The Americans don't want to give us any money anymore, and they're saying, just a minute here, we're the ones that are bearing the cost of storing these reservoirs and water levels up and down, and we want to be able to ensure that, one, compensation is in place, and two, that we're getting a return on storing that water that they generate power from. So I'm sure there will be a lot of back and forth on that, but I think with a little luck, we might get some more money out of it. Did you listen to that discussion, Ron? Mm-hmm. What was your sense?
Well, there's nothing etched in stone at this point in time, and I thought it was interesting, the fellow that came up from Montana, who lives right on one of the reservoirs that's down, in the States there, and there's a lot of parallel issues for them, in terms of high water and this and that. And so, we don't have a lot of say in how this thing is conducted. So, but I guess my biggest concern is how finding a mechanism for accessing some of that money would be something we should be focused on, because that seems to be a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Then my report is downstairs in a binder. It's about that thick, 11 pages of notes. And so if anybody's interested, you can look at that and phone me, and I can clarify. I found some of the booze. I had quite an interesting talk with the manager of CID, because they loaned us $50,000, and it's sitting there. And Neil and I had this discussion with this broadband thing, and I'm glad that people are going to try to make it happen. Otherwise, we just sat there with $30,000 from one fund and $50,000 from another. Well, we dither.
Right.
Anyway, so on that topic, Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation were there, and actually Bill Muth had a discussion with me briefly about they felt they were moving ahead, but the 3 regional districts are also trying to come up with a strategy through the federal funding, because now it's changed, so they want to try and coordinate the broadband initiative in rural areas. That's what they're thinking. And what was interesting to me, in my understanding, is the backbone is there. I mean, there's more capacity, but Shaw and TELUS don't want to share it. That's my understanding. So this is where the negotiations come in. And then, of course, I was kind of suggesting to people to visit the SIBAC booth. They had a booth there to explain the program, and actually the cusp are into a green energy thing, and so it looks like that might go forward. So then I would take that to the board and see, if they can get some shared expense, because they've got a downtown area that they could actually roll out a green heat initiative. We're in Kaslo, we got a river on one side, older buildings, and you got to dig up all the pavement, and we got geothermal. I know. Okay. And finally, just in terms of the Mayor's Caucus, I'm leaving tomorrow for the Mayor's Caucus to Councillor Lane's comments about, I think there's a real sense there that the mayors, through their councils, through their local government authorities, want to narrow the focus at UBCM on issues where everybody can find the common ground to bring forward actions based on, if you read these resolutions, and then UBCM gives you all the things they've been through back for X, so I don't know if that will come up on the agenda or not, but that's my sense from talking to other mayors. There's also a sense that maybe it isn't working, so I think this conference will be a deciding point as to whether they'll continue to meet as a caucus. Okay, so that's it. Oh.
Great. Thanks.
Does anybody know how to extend the time on these screen refresh things? How long does yours go on for?
It doesn't stay very long, but you can change it.
Great. Okay. All right, now we're on to bylaws, and could we have a motion for bylaw 1151, 5-year financial plan? Oh.
I just wanted to ask Council if they wanted me to go through the Schedule B on bylaw 1151 first, because we don't really discuss that in committee.
Let's do that.
Okay. Okay, and you'll notice on page 6 of the bylaw, there's a Schedule B policy and objectives. The total requisition from property tax this year is $487,225 both. You will notice that represents, in terms of percentage of total revenue for the municipality, only 20%. 38% is proposed to come from grants. That includes the small community grant and gas tax revenue. But again, you see that a large part of what the organisation does is funded through grant aid rather than direct taxation. Moving down, the public will have an opportunity to have a look at this over the next couple of weeks. We'll have it posted on our website. The objectives and policy areas on the following page, which I've taken from your strategic priorities and a couple of other areas that have been discussed at length since I arrived, it's fairly straightforward. Basically, you get the kind of obvious ones, like to seek grants for major infrastructure repair and replacement, to modernise and improve financial management, analysis and reporting, annually review utility rates to ensure water and sewer operating and delivery costs are fully funded, to complete the implementation of water conservation measures and the securing of a dependable secondary water supply. That's in reference to the secondary intake proposal.
On the Kaslo River.
Yeah. To review the distribution of taxation between different property tax classes, which is a fairly standard one within these schedules, but again, every year it's supposed to happen. To pursue economic development initiatives, And to review the village's land and lease portfolio with respect to potential income generation. To review all other services to determine optimal proportions of cost recovery from fees versus general revenues and taxation. And to establish reserve policies and bylaws to assist in the improved funding of future capital asset replacement and to stabilise tax and utility rates. Moving to that second table that you see there, the distribution of property taxes among the property classes. You can see that we're fairly heavily reliant on Class 1 residential at 78%, almost 79%. And nearly 20% on business and other, Class 6. The rest are fairly small in comparison to the overall sources for property tax. And moving on to the last page, you've got, again, this is fairly standard, and you can review this over the next year and as can the next council, the language on permissive tax exemptions. They're an appropriate way to recognise the value of services provided to the community by non-profit organisations. The village's policy is to ensure that permissive tax exemptions are utilised to maximise the benefit of non-profit organisations of the village and its citizens. So that's essentially it. In future years, this could be a larger piece or a smaller piece. It essentially is the setting out of your goals for the next 5 years.
Any questions?
So I'll move that we read bylaw 1151, 5-year financial plan bylaw, the first time by content.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Leithwood. Discussion, call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move that we read bylaw 1151, 5-year financial plan, the second and third time by title.
Moved by Councillor Leithwood, second by Councillor Hewitt. Discussion, call a question. All in favor? Motion passes. And bylaw 1152, tax rates for the 2014 bylaw.
I'll move that we move bylaw 1152, tax rates 2014 bylaw, first by content.
Moved by Councillor Leithwood, second by Councillor Hewitt. Discussion, call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move that we read bylaw 1152, tax rates 2014 bylaw, second and third time by title.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Leithwood. Discussion, call a question. All in favor? Motion passes.
And just, I know Tom, Council, there, the water and sewer bylaws will follow at a special meeting on the 6th. The panel is not till Thursday, so we need to do the first 2/3 at a special meeting before the 13th.
I'll just ask a question. Have we received any written submissions for the panel?
If we have, it's only one or two. I'd need to check with Caroline. I know someone's come in to talk to her about it, but I don't know if we've had something in writing. I'll check with her.
So who's on that committee? Because I know you.
You said you would be the alternate.
Yeah, and I'm gone on the 24th of May.
It's not.
It's April.
April.
You're still on, right? It is. You're just
Right.
leaving tomorrow for the caucus.
Yeah.
And it goes through till Friday.
Yeah, it goes through to Friday. So are we?
I'm leaving for Vancouver tomorrow morning. I'll be gone till next week.
Oh, so our panel's down. You better be
Okay.
there. So it's you and I. Is that
Okay.
that?
I will.
We have 3 plus an alternate, right?
I think there's 3 plus an alternate.
Where's Jimmy?
I have no idea.
You need 3. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think we had this problem once before.
So the 24th is a Friday?
No, it's Thursday.
Thursday, 23rd.
If we need to move it till Friday to make it possible for someone else to, could you be back for 4 o'clock or 4:30?
Where's the caucus?
What's that?
Where is it this time?
Remember,
Oh, yeah.
I'll make the commitment to be here, and that's what we need, because we don't, it's either Jimmy or myself.
Right.
Would that work?
Yeah.
Neil,
Yeah, that should work.
can you check with Jimmy then tomorrow? And I'll see you tomorrow morning, first thing, or I'll be on my cell phone.
So could we make a provisional recommendation, resolution that if Councillor Holland is unavailable for the for what we need to do on Thursday, the panel, the parcel tax roll review panel on the 24th, that it be moved to Friday, the 25th, to make sure that we have enough bodies, just so that we're covered either way, so that you don't have to, that you've gotten permission to move the meeting, because don't we have to resolve to have it at a different time?
Okay.
I'll second that.
However you need to word that to make it sound right.
I'll talk to Carol tomorrow.
Further discussion? Call a question? All in favor? Motion passes.
You need to have that done as soon as possible, so you can proceed with all your other stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've solved that. Come here. All right. I think we're on to new business, 9A.
I guess I'm in conflict, I guess.
I'll move that the beer garden permit application submitted by Castle Golf Club be approved for this year's Lager Sports event.
Second, moved by Councilor Youthwood, second by Councilor Hewitt. Discussion, call the question, all in favor, motion passes.
Councillor Lang?
It's so dark up there.
Okay, and 9B. Somebody like to move that Councilor Holland travel request be granted?
I just asked what the RDI community toolkit demo is.
Well, I phoned about that today because I'm going to go myself. There's two workshops, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The one in the morning deals with this huge database, which reminds me, did you get a call from that person today about submitting that agreement? So all these communities are building this huge, through the geospatial center there, you know, population, number of houses, all these other, it'll be a workshop on how you access that and how you may or may not add to it and whatnot. The second one in the afternoon deals with the thing that, what's her name from Cranbrook that was the economic advisor? Well, Terry McDonald leads with it. She was in here, we had a couple of meetings with her about the BC Opportunities Fund.
Oh, Diana?
Diana, yeah. So it will be a workshop on how these land inventories are going to be in the Columbia Basin Trust and how that would move ahead and how you would use that. And I thought, well, that would be pretty important to be at in terms of what are the opportunities to work with their geospatial group, what to, how do you collect it, what does it look like? So I think it would be good if Jim could be there, and then the Transboundary Conference in Castlegar. I think that's the
In Spokane.
or in Spokane. I think that one is dealing with the Columbia Power Corp. You know, how does all that come together? Because as we learned last year, I mean, it's a huge system, and it gets down to, I mean, if they hadn't raised the dam behind one of these cookies there on the St. Mary's River, if they hadn't raised that, you know, it would have been really a serious impact. Well, and that guy that was at AKBLG, they went through some serious suffering there too. So it's trying to find out how that mechanism works, because really it's the Corps engineers that make the final decision. So I think it would be good for us to know that in terms of, you know, the levels on Kootenai Lake, based on what happened last year. So would somebody like to move that?
No. I'll move for discussion.
Move for discussion. Second by Councilor Hewitt.
You know, I don't have a problem moving them. The one in October, it would be dependent on our budget, like what's left in our travel budget, right? Because we did say this year we're going to keep it in our budget, right?
Well, I think it'll be reimbursed for up to his travel.
Right, his
limit,
travel.
So we can put a proviso in there that.
Well, but we did put $1,500 in there for situations like this. It's not just limited to, did we not, Neil?
Didn't we take some?
Yeah, no, we put extra money in there for extra things like this.
Okay.
I think we'll have a variance on that part of the budget before too long, just so you're up to date with where you are.
Okay?
Okay.
So moved by Councilor Leathwood,
Yeah,
second by Councilor. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes.
So do we need, since the tool party, our community toolkit demo it's the day after our next meeting, do we need a resolution for having your expenses paid, or?
I don't want, I know I have expense for that stuff. Okay, and accounts payable.
I'll move that accounts payable in the amount of $68,365.37 be approved.
Second.
Second by Councilor Leathwood. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? I just got a technical question here. As we've dropped the penny, why is it that we get something like 37 cents?
So when you write the check,
Yeah.
it's still pennies.
Right.
Or paying with a credit card, you're still pennies.
Yeah.
It's just when you're paying in cash, there's pennies.
Can't we get into the 21st century? Okay, financial report. A motion to receive? Yeah. There's one, okay. Any questions on the financial report?
There is none.
There isn't any. Oh, I thought it was my computer again. Okay, a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councilor Leathwood, seconded by Councilor Lang. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Public time. Robert.
On the bylaw discussions, there was a review of the different rate classes, 80% residential, 20% business. Is that because of the homeowners grant coming to the village coffers, or how does that work?
Well, it's basically it's just a percentage of the by each assessed group.
Yes.
You basically do your tax calculation for each class and assessment class, and it spits out a number, and you just do the basic percentage out of your overall taxation figure. So if I bring it, let me bring it back
And
up.
that includes the small communities grant as well, doesn't it?
No, this is just taxation. The wrong one.
The message that should go out there is that we need more business in town when we're that heavily weighted to residential.
What would a decent percentage weighting be?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
Depends on services.
Yeah.
Depends on the delivery of services. What services do you want? Does that, municipality want?
Well, Rob just said, it would be better to have more businesses.
Yeah.
And so
So they-
I'm asking, if to be able to hit a target, you kind of have to know what that target is. Or if 80-20 is not a good level, is 60-40 the better level? What?
I don't know, maybe C.L. Smith could comment, but I'm guessing that in a place like Cranbrook, it could run to that 60-40.
Nelson?
Since they have a lot of industry in that town, and I'm sure they're all paying tons of taxes, so, but I don't know that for a fact.
Well, you can have I think the question is related to the tax ratio. Of course, for business and other, we're using the 2.45 provincial multiple. We're not using anything different from that this year. So the question for future councils would be: do you believe that multiple needs to be changed in Castle's case? I think is that the question.
That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, you're at a ratio of 2.45 for Class 6, which is 19.57% of the overall tax burden from property tax. And that comes to a total of about $95,000 out of 487.
Okay. Another question was on there was something in there about economic initiatives, about some of the funding was to go towards economic.
Again, the policy and objectives with future.
That was an objective.
Future in mind. To pursue economic development initiatives for business and industry. That's a fairly standard piece of language for the policy and objectives in a financial plan bylaw.
Right.
If you're looking for more detail than that, that's where you have to. That's where the next step comes. Down the road, you need to have more elaborate, more detailed plans for how you're going to do that, and what the basis of whether you're going to draw from taxation funds for that or grant funds for that, or what. But it's important to set it out in the bylaw that that's something that's important.
And who makes those decisions? What department? Am I asking the right question?
No, well, we don't have too many departments at the village, but if you're looking for an economic development strategy, that has to go to council, so the staff could actually work on one, if you want staff to work on one. If it's something beyond the village scope, if it's regional in scope, it's a little different again.
So is there anyone working on an economic development strategy at this moment?
Councillor.
Those are things that we would do in a priority session. So we have priority sessions at certain times of the year. So we identified the priorities already for 2014. So we'll do that again for the next year's bylaw, or next year's priority. So if you feel that's a priority, then we need to hear those kind of things from the public. I mean, there's certain things that we have to do, like, we're trying to, there's some water issues and things like that we have to fix, but if you think those are important priorities, then I would encourage you to write council and have them discuss it at our priority session.
So what you're saying is right now we don't have any economic development initiatives?
Well, I would say,
There's an economic development committee, SEDS, that meets once a month.
But they stopped meeting for about 4 or 5 months. From August of 2013, there wasn't another report. And I was reading for that until at least December or January. I haven't seen one since.
Yeah. The other, what other municipalities are doing, Slocan Valley is a good example. They actually tax both the municipalities and the regional district taxpayers for an economic development commission. And that lapsed, and it's there on the books with the regional district, but it hasn't been brought forward as an option at this point in time. But it's something that probably bears consideration as a way in which to hire someone or create a way in which, because Kaslo is tied to the other communities, and so to do it strictly for the village of Kaslo, to me, is missing the boat. It should be Kaslo and Area D, actually, that's looking at it as a corridor.
Okay, so am I hearing you right in saying, shift this from here and send it to the RDCK?
Well, it would be a joint service. It wouldn't just be the RDCK. It would be the municipality of Kaslo and the RDCK.
But nothing is happening right now.
Nothing is happening right now.
Okay. And the reason I bring this up, I was listening, it's one of my advantages is I get to hear CBC in the morning. And they've got some interesting stuff. The Northwest Territories where I live, and the population in NWT is tiny. Like, it's maybe 65,000 people, and there are like 45 communities. Like, it's a huge space,
Yeah.
but the number of people there is really small. And the NWT has put $1 million into a fund to attract Chinese tourists. And they're expecting 700 a year, and that's what they're willing to put, $1 million investment into that. Revelstoke has just hired, I believe it's the gentleman who manages or puts together the Salmon Island Roots and Blues Festival, because they're trying to hit their shoulder season in the fall and in the late spring. And they're wanting to put 2 music festival events on, because they've identified that unless you put events on, you're going to fall short on attracting the tourists. And these are the things that we in Kaslo are having to basically, we're playing in that same pool with those tourists. They're going to be pulled one way or another, and if we don't have a plan, I mean, it's basic, that basic axiom, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And if we want to develop economically, we need to get at least our basic concept of what we want. That's my opinion, because we're at a place where we're failing right now. And we've been waiting and waiting, anticipating that certain groups, leaderships are doing what we anticipate, and I'm actually quite surprised we don't have any sort of economic development initiatives. That we're just waiting for something to drop into our lap. And I don't mean that like disrespectfully, honestly. Like I was hoping that, because that's, as businesses, we need something happening this winter. And the final one is, I just saw Jasper. They have a great big walkway that goes about 300 or 400 feet out over some chasm, some canyon, and it's basically glass, so you can see right through. And people are developing these things all over the place. There's some new sea to sky cable car now, like kind of like the Grouse Mountain, but there's another one somewhere else out there. All these things are being developed, lots of money is being spent, and there is money available if we have the plans. And that's one of the things I know with Nelson Kootenai Lake Tourism. They would love to spend some more money that they collect from our own hotel, motel, Ainsworth Hot Springs. They'd love to spend more money up here if we have things that we want them to do.
So the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan is where we try to embed these concepts.
Yes.
Then it's turning it from a concept
Yes.
into concrete action plans. And that's a discussion that at the next committee of the whole meeting in the ICSP, you know, when we look at it, we'll look at it through that lens. But yeah, I think economic development is the lens that we need to be looking at seriously here. And it, for a number of reasons in the past, it's been more initiated by community champions. David Stewart comes to mind.
Fantastic.
Than it has by council. And I mean, there were reasons for that in terms of the, you know, council's function in terms of try to find the money to take care of the services, let alone finance something like the economy. But I'm hoping it gets raised. I hope it comes before council with the business community. I'm hopeful that the chamber is trying to identify initiatives that can move forward. And so thank you for sharing your thoughts.
One question. I did ask about the ICSP. Is the final draft in?
I just got it this evening. So I couldn't put it on this agenda. It'll be on the next committee for the whole agenda on May 6th.
Will it be on the website?
As part of the package for COW, because council still have to have a final look.
Yeah, so we have to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so please come and add your thoughts and ideas. Jan?
For the MNBC, the recycling, who is Kootenai Waste Service?
Brian.
That's Brian? Okay, great. And so there's no information as to where Brian is supposed to take the recycling at this moment?
In terms of where he's taking it?
Yeah.
Oh no, we know where he's taking it to kaslo.com.
Okay.
He will have a separate contract with Read by Nature to take it from the 60-kilometre mark to kaslo.com to their processing place there. My understanding is that there is insufficient capacity in the central Kootenays to have that secondary collection system that had been envisioned, at least at the moment. My understanding is Nacusp's taking Nacusp's recyclings to go to Revelstoke, but check with their CAO on that.
Okay. So if he knows he has to take it to kaslo, what information is missing to do a...
Oh, that was basically how do we pay him to do it, or do we do an RFP or so on to make it a contract? The timelines have been so short with the information to put a contract together that I simply recommend we put him on fee for service until things settle down this year.
Okay.
And then we'll do a proper RFP or request for expressions of interest late this year for the next 2 years, because the MNBC contract's 3 years in duration.
By the way, Robert, do you know why Chinese tourists are flocking to the Northwest Territories?
Yes. It's lifetime good luck if you see the Northern Lights.
So now we just need to create some
Yeah.
kind of shtick for kaslo.
We could write up antlers or something.
Yeah.
Well, I've had a Japanese going there, I guess, for quite a while.
Yeah,
They say that it's as well known in Japan as Memphis
right.
to go north.
What was the first deadline for the fuel treatment project? I guess it's been extended to the 30th?
It was always the 30th,
Right.
wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a number of management challenges with the project, the Washington unit that keeps being referred to. Initially, the plan had been to burn the fuel there through a series of controlled fires, as that was more cost effective. But Ministry of Environment reviewed the burn plan and determined that it was too close to building public buildings and residences in that specific area. That meant it had to be chipped, which added an additional layer of cost to the whole thing. So we had to wait to hear back from UBCN if there were some extra resources for us to do that. So we can just manage it in the time frame we've got now.
So UBCN has come back and said, yes, there's more
Yeah.
money for you guys.
Yeah, and yes, there's an amended plan as well.
Okay, I thought that there was information in the package about the time being changed to April 30th, but it was always April 30th.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay. Now, what's going on with the CBDC? Is this building hooked up
Yes.
and live and everything?
We do have 100 megabyte per second up and down speed in the Temple building. The municipality is still not accessing it completely because we haven't been able to shift our servers over to that system yet. So we're still on secure by design for most of what we do. However, the connection's there, and we're just waiting on the CBPC people and our own contractor to get it switched over properly. It's ready to go for this building.
Okay. And then for the rest, has it been delayed again, sort of, or is it going more slowly than, well, I know it's been going more slowly than we hoped, but it seemed like it was going to really move ahead just fairly recently. It seems like it was, is it slowed down again?
I don't want to comment too much on what's been happening behind the scenes with that. It's simply that a lot more planning was required than was first believed, and ourselves, Kin, and the Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation are working on, I think, 3 separate agreements to make sure that this all goes forward in a manner that works for each of us. Council here have been very supportive of the project, and we've been desperate to see it actually go forward, but we've hit snag after snag, and no one's fault really. It's just this is the first time it's been tackled in the area.
Right.
Yeah, so we're actually a pilot project for rural communities, and quite frankly, I think Kin is building the capacity to help other communities based on our experience here. I mean, you get into issues of standard. Well, we now have gone from from a 12-inch wide ditch to a 4-inch wide ditch. Like there's equipment out there, and it's really fast, really efficient, but you got to know where it is. And so I'm pretty proud of Kin, because they're leaders, and there's other ways in which this technology, because 100 megabits a minute is nothing. That's just the starting point. If you don't get 1,000, you ain't in the game. So Kin are thinking ahead to, well, how do we get, within 2 years, we've got to get to 1,000 megabits a second, or we don't have business compared to other communities. And so come to the BC Rural Summit on June the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and I'm sure there will be, some more enlightenment. But yeah, it really became complex for Columbia Basin Broadband, because when they got into this, they didn't, for bigger cities, it would, there was a model that worked for them, but for small rural communities, there's some serious questions to be asked about internet service providers and things like that. So we're going to charge for our contract documents, by the way. We're not giving them away for nothing. We want to get our cost down. Is that it?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.